Here's a review for Superman, the 2025 start of a new era of DC films under the direction of James Gunn. Even if it felt a little weird in terms of the timing of an all of a sudden DC Universe film reboot, you couldn't help but feel on board with James Gunn driving the show, with his track record on Guardians of the Galaxy, and recent DC projects with The Suicide Squad and The Peacemaker show. The trailers for Superman, which believe it or not, this is the first time a Superman movie is just titled Superman. But anyways, the marketing showcase this film was seemingly going to be a modern version of the classic Reeves films with James Gunn's filmmaking style. In other words, the complete opposite of the previous decade's Snyderverse version. Whether or not you consider that to be a good or bad thing is up to you.
Yo, James Gunn.
Oh, hi, Zack Snyder.
Just saw your new cut of Superman, and word of advice, he's the man of steel, not the man of conversation.
Okay.
Now, honestly, I've never been the biggest fan of Superman as a character, so I was open to whatever new interpretation would be. I thought the Snyderverse interpretation was a mixed bag, although it did have some highlights.
Do more shots of him punching, and here is a secret move. Start the punch at regular speed, and then you're gonna ramp it down.
It's not a fucking secret.
But this new James Gunn version did look promising. I saw the film Thursday night in Dolby in what was a packed auditorium. In this film, Superman fights to save a world, which mastermind Lex Luthor tries to convince should fear him. It's a fairly basic synopsis, but it's a roller coaster of a plot, with a lot of weird twists and turns, and obstacles for Superman to overcome. As the first in this new era of DC films, DC Studios as it's called now, you don't have to have watched any of the previous Superman films to understand this one. The only thing you'll miss out on if you haven't seen any Superman films is that you'll miss what makes this particular interpretation unique. If you don't know Superman's full origin story, well, this is not the film for you. The story of Krypton and his father is just breezed over during the opening of this film, which I can honestly understand this creative choice, as baby Kal-El being sent off from Krypton is as repetitive in media as billionaire parents being shot behind a theater, or a teenager being bit by a radioactive spider. There are just some things we don't need to see again anytime soon. Calling this a modern version of the old school Christopher Reeves films is somewhat accurate, but this movie is very much its own thing thanks to James Gunn. His style is all over this film, most notably in the dialogue. He just has a way of putting together these odd, eccentric type conversations of dialogue that get weird but still have a lot of humanity and keep you very entertained and laughing. The movie initially really sold me, and I think it'll really sell most of the audiences, based on the major conversation Clark and Lois have at the beginning. It was just great back and forth that really established this as James Gunn's Superman. Clark Kent's amount of screen time here is fleeting, as like the Batman, this film is all about the superhero side of our protagonist, meaning this film is pretty much all entirely Superman. I do think you miss something when it comes to those fun moments with Clark and the rest of the world. That's the charming angle of Superman stories, which is only present in a few scenes here. It does allow for more time when it comes to Superman action, which the action is consistently quite good. There's about as much variety as you can hope for when it comes to Superman-type action sequences. The initial start of the film's climax worried me though, as it started to get into Man of Steel-type destruction, but thankfully the climax and all the action in the movie remember the key when it comes to Superman, and that's him saving civilians. That's at the forefront of everything here in the story and the action, and in what makes you like Superman. David Cornsweet, weird last name, as if I'm one to talk, but he gets the job done as Superman. The suit, though, is a little weird. I get it's the classic look to have the red underwear showing, but it's a bit strange, though, when it comes to modern sensibilities. That and the baggy type nature of the suit, and Man of Steel would definitely get my vote for the best Superman suit. All the performances are good here, though. I still think Nicholas Hoult is a bit too babyface for Lex Luthor, but he's elevated by some good writing and a lot of the things that make you not like him in a fun villain kind of way. Collectively, I've always found Lex Luthor's schemes in these films to be mostly the downfall of all Superman movies. And it's mostly a mixed bag here too, but I did think there were some major moments in highlighting his hubris, evil, and hatred for Superman. Something refreshing about this story though was how this was a world that Superman was in that was already filled with a bunch of weird comic book type stuff, and didn't waste any time in establishing the world, discovering all this weird stuff for the first time. The most surprisingly pleasant element of the film for me was the Justice Gang, comprised of Green Lantern, Hawk Girl, and Mr. Terrific. I expected Nathan Fillion to be good as Guy Gardner, and he was really good here. But Mr. Terrific was surprisingly, well, terrific, and very well utilized. For my money, he has the best action scene in the whole film, which is extremely reminiscent of the most iconic action scene from Guardians Volume 2. I'll let you figure out which one that is. The climax action was mostly fun. Thankfully, it avoided just becoming endless destruction, and had some variety when it came for weird obstacles for Superman to overcome, and established Lex Luthor as a total asshole. And that dog Crypto, he's great. He's the true scene stealer of the entire movie in true James Gunn fashion. There was a lot riding on this film, and I would say it definitely delivered, even if I did feel it was a little overstuffed. I was worried if the initial buzz and hype from this movie from the premiere was just paid off critic type hype, but it's a superhero film that I feel like is going to please many. And it's an exciting fresh start for Superman and the DC universe. But most importantly, it remembered to be a good movie, and not focus on setting up a bunch of other stuff down the road. In other words, the film was excellent.
Excellent.
It was a packed auditorium that all seemingly was very enthusiastic about the film coming out of it, although unless you just want to soak in every last bit of this film, you can leave once the credits start. There's a mid-credits and post-credits scene, neither of which is anything close to being consequential. But Disney and Marvel are probably thinking, oh shit, better watch our backs now, as it looks like there may finally be some real competition in the battle of cinematic film superhero universes. So that'll do it for this review of Superman. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.